Be prepared. Tomorrow changes everything. Right now, as you're watching this, something subtle but incredibly powerful is unfolding in the sky above you. The moon has entered its waning crescent phase, and if you've been paying attention to your life over the past few days, you've probably noticed something shifting. Maybe it's a feeling you can't quite name. Maybe it's exhaustion that seems to come from nowhere. Maybe it's this overwhelming sense that something in your life needs to end, and you can't ignore it anymore. Most people will miss what's happening. They'll scroll past this moment, distracted by the noise of daily life, completely unaware that the universe is sending them urgent messages right now. But you're here. You found this video. And that's not an accident. The waning crescent moon isn't just another phase in the lunar cycle. This is the universe's final chapter before everything resets. This is when old patterns dissolve, when outdated situations fall away, when the cosmos quietly rearranges the pieces of your life behind the scenes. And March 13th carries especially significant energy because of what's been building in the celestial atmosphere over the past 2 weeks. Here's what nobody's telling you. The universe has been testing you. It's been watching how you respond to pressure, how you handle endings, whether you're willing to release what no longer serves you. And tomorrow, the results of that test become clear. Some people will receive breakthroughs they've been waiting months for. Others will find themselves stuck in the same cycles, wondering why nothing ever changes. The difference between those two outcomes comes down to one thing: whether you understand the 3 cosmic warnings the universe is sending right now, and whether you're willing to act on them. Stay with me, because there's one specific reason why you've been feeling this strange pressure in your chest lately. This sensation that something massive is about to break open. I'll reveal exactly what that means and why it's been following you for days. But first, you need to understand what makes this particular waning crescent moon so different from every other lunar phase you've experienced this year. Let me take you inside what's really happening right now. When we talk about the waning crescent moon, we're talking about one of the most misunderstood yet powerful moments in the entire lunar cycle. This is the phase that happens right before the moon disappears completely into darkness and prepares to be reborn as a new moon. Astronomically, the visible light of the moon becomes thinner and thinner each night. But symbolically, that fading light represents something profound happening within your own life. Unlike the full moon, which brings intensity and emotional peaks that everyone can feel, the waning crescent carries a much quieter energy. It's subtle, it's introspective. It's the universe gently tapping you on the shoulder and saying, slow down, look inward, pay attention to what's ready to fall away. Many ancient cultures understood this phase as sacred time. The Babylonians called it the dark moon, a period for spiritual reflection and release. Indigenous traditions around the world recognize this as a time when the veil between worlds grows thin, when intuition speaks louder than logic, when the soul knows things the mind hasn't figured out yet. This is why you might be feeling different right now. Your body isn't broken. Your energy isn't failing you. You're responding to a cosmic rhythm that's been guiding human consciousness for thousands of years. During this stage of the lunar cycle, the universe begins clearing emotional and energetic space. Think of it like the final moments before a reset. Just as nature moves through cycles of growth and rest, we also move through cycles where certain parts of our lives need to wind down before something new can begin. The waning crescent is that winding down period. It's the cosmic exhale after months of pushing forward. This is why people often notice subtle emotional shifts during this phase. You might suddenly find yourself reflecting on past experiences, old relationships, or decisions you made months or even years ago. Memories can resurface in unexpected ways. It's not uncommon to feel slightly more introspective or even a bit tired as your mind and emotions process what the previous cycle has taught you. And while it may seem like nothing major is happening on the surface, this phase is actually incredibly important. The waning crescent helps us integrate the lessons of the past cycle, Every lunar cycle brings experiences, challenges, and insights. This phase allows us to absorb them fully before stepping into the next chapter. But here's where it gets interesting. This particular waning crescent moon isn't happening in isolation. It's occurring while the entire cosmic environment is still adjusting to massive planetary movements that have been shaking up everyone's lives. Let me explain what I mean. Over the past few weeks, we've experienced some of the most intense astrological activity of the entire year. On March 3rd, we had a total lunar eclipse in Virgo. That eclipse didn't just come and go. Its energy is still rippling through the collective consciousness, still revealing truths that were hidden, still pushing people to confront situations they've been avoiding. Eclipses are known for accelerating timelines. They fast forward your life, sometimes in ways that feel uncomfortable or even chaotic. They close doors that were meant to close, whether you're ready or not. And they open pathways you didn't even know existed. Then, just hours after that eclipse, Jupiter stationed direct in Cancer after being retrograde since November. Jupiter is the planet of expansion, growth, opportunity, and abundance. When Jupiter goes retrograde, it's like the universe hits pause on your forward momentum. Plans stall, opportunities delay, growth happens internally rather than externally. But when Jupiter stations direct, that pause ends. Suddenly, everything that's been building beneath the surface starts moving forward again. Projects that felt stuck begin to flow. Money that's been delayed starts coming through. Opportunities that seemed impossible become obvious next steps. Now imagine these two massive cosmic events, the eclipse and Jupiter direct, happening within hours of each other. And then imagine the waning crescent moon arriving just days later to help you process and integrate all of that intense energy. That's where we are right now. The atmosphere feels like it's in a transitional space, almost as if the universe is rearranging pieces behind the scenes. When this kind of energy shows up, it brings important messages. Sometimes those messages arrive as opportunities. Sometimes they arrive as gentle warnings, guiding you in a different direction. And right now, the universe is sending 3 specific warnings, 3 cosmic signals that are trying to get your attention before the next lunar cycle begins. If you miss these warnings, you'll find yourself repeating the same patterns, stuck in the same situations, wondering why your life isn't moving forward. But if you understand these warnings and act on them, you position yourself to receive the breakthroughs that are coming. Because here's what most people don't realize. The waning crescent moon isn't just about endings. It's about preparation. It's the universe clearing space, so that when the new moon arrives, when the next cycle begins, you're ready to receive what's meant for you. Think of it this way. Imagine trying to pour fresh water into a glass that's already full of stagnant liquid. It won't work. You have to empty the glass first. That's what the waning crescent moon does. It empties your glass. It clears out the old, the stagnant, the expired. And it does this whether you cooperate or not. The question is, will you work with this energy or against it? Most people fight the waning crescent. They feel the exhaustion and try to push through it. They sense something ending and desperately try to hold it together. They notice old patterns resurfacing and immediately try to suppress them. But that resistance only makes the process harder and more painful. The people who understand this phase, who lean into the release, who trust the clearing process, they're the ones who experience the magic on the other side. They're the ones who wake up during the new moon feeling lighter, clearer, more aligned than they've felt in months. So let's talk about the first cosmic warning the universe is sending you right now. This is the one that most people completely misunderstand, and it's costing them everything. The first cosmic warning is this. The universe is closing old doors, and you need to let them close. I know that sounds simple, but pay attention to what's actually happening in your life right now. Over the past few days, maybe even the past few weeks, You've probably noticed certain situations starting to feel different. A friendship that used to flow effortlessly now feels strained. A job that once excited you now drains your energy. A relationship that seemed stable is revealing cracks you can't ignore anymore. Your first instinct is probably to fix it, to work harder, to communicate better, to try one more time. And sometimes, that's the right move. But not during the waning crescent moon. Not when the universe is actively clearing your path. Here's what's really happening. The waning crescent moon is exposing what's no longer aligned with your highest path. It's revealing the relationships, situations, and commitments that are keeping you stuck in an old version of yourself. And it's gently, sometimes not so gently, pushing you to release them. This isn't about failure. This isn't about giving up. This is about completion. Every experience, every relationship, every challenge in your life has a purpose. And once that purpose is fulfilled, the energy naturally begins to shift. The universe starts closing that door so you can walk through a new one. But here's where people get stuck. They see the door closing and they panic. They think something's wrong. They think they did something wrong. So they wedge their foot in the door, trying to keep it open, exhausting themselves in the process. And meanwhile, just a few feet away, there's another door. A better door. A door that leads to exactly what they've been asking for. But they can't see it because they're too busy fighting to keep the old door from closing. The waning crescent moon is asking you to remove your foot from that door. To trust that if something is falling away right now, it's because something better is trying to come in. To understand that the universe isn't taking things from you, it's clearing space for you. Let me give you an example of what this looks like in real life. Maybe you've been in a job that's been slowly draining you for months. You keep telling yourself it'll get better. You keep hoping things will change. But deep down, you know it's time to move on. The waning crescent moon might manifest this as your boss suddenly becoming more difficult, or a project falling through, or an opportunity elsewhere appearing out of nowhere. The universe is creating the conditions that make it easier for you to leave. Or maybe you're in a relationship that's been stuck in the same patterns for years. You love this person, but something fundamental isn't working. The waning crescent moon might bring those issues to the surface in a way that can't be ignored anymore. Not to destroy the relationship, but to force both of you to either evolve together or release each other with love. This is the first cosmic warning. Pay attention to what's naturally falling away in your life right now. Don't fight it. Don't force it. Don't try to resurrect what the universe is trying to lay to rest. Because here's the truth that nobody wants to hear. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do, for yourself and for others, is to let go. To admit that this chapter is complete. To trust that the ending is making space for a beginning you can't even imagine yet. And if you're feeling that overwhelming urge to quit something lately, to walk away, to finally say enough, that's not weakness. That's not giving up. That's your soul recognizing what your mind hasn't accepted yet. The door is closing, and it's time to stop fighting it. Now, bit caught at your silence. You might be wondering, how do I know if something is meant to end or if I'm just going through a difficult phase? That's a fair question, and the answer lies in the second cosmic warning, which is about to become very clear to you. The second cosmic warning is this. Your intuition is getting louder, and you need to start listening. Over the past few days, you've probably noticed something strange happening. Your dreams have become more vivid, more meaningful. You wake up with insights that seem to come from nowhere. You think about someone, and they text you minutes later. You get a sudden feeling about a decision, and it turns out to be exactly right. This isn't coincidence. This is the waning crescent moon amplifying your intuitive abilities. Here's what's happening on an energetic level. As the moon's light fades, the external noise of the world quiets down. And in that quietness, your inner voice, the one that's been trying to get your attention for months, finally has space to be heard. The waning crescent moon is ruled by the subconscious mind. It governs dreams, intuition, psychic sensitivity, and that deep knowing that exists beyond logic. During this phase, the veil between your conscious awareness and your soul's wisdom becomes incredibly thin. Information that's normally buried beneath the surface of your everyday thought suddenly rises up where you can access it. This is why so many people report having profound realizations during this moon phase. You might suddenly understand why a relationship ended the way it did. You might finally see the pattern that's been repeating in your life for years. You might get crystal clear about what you actually want. Not what you think you should want, but what your soul is genuinely calling you toward. But here's the problem. Most people don't trust this intuitive guidance. They dismiss it as random thoughts. They talk themselves out of it with logic. They wait for external validation before they act on what they already know internally. And that hesitation, that need for proof before you trust yourself, that's what keeps you stuck. Let me tell you something that might change how you see this. Your intuition isn't guessing. It's not making things up. Your intuition is processing information at a level your conscious mind can't access. It's reading energy, picking up on subtle cues, connecting dots that logic hasn't connected yet. When you get a gut feeling about something, that's not irrational. That's your nervous system communicating intelligence that your thinking brain hasn't caught up to yet. And during the waning crescent moon, this intuitive intelligence is operating at peak capacity. The universe is literally downloading information directly into your consciousness. Guidance about which doors to walk through, warnings about which situations to avoid, clarity about what your next steps need to be. But you have to be willing to receive it. And that means slowing down, turning off the noise, creating space for stillness. I know that's hard in a world that glorifies constant productivity and business. But here's what I've learned after years of working with lunar cycles. The people who achieve the most meaningful success aren't the ones who work the hardest. They're the ones who know when to pause, when to listen, when to let their intuition guide them instead of forcing everything through willpower. Right now, the universe is trying to tell you something. Maybe it's about a decision you've been agonizing over. Maybe it's about a person in your life who isn't who they appear to be. Maybe it's about a path you've been too afraid to take because it doesn't make logical sense. Pay attention to what keeps showing up in your awareness. That recurring thought you can't shake. That dream that felt more real than waking life. That sudden knowing that appeared while you were in the shower, or driving, or doing something completely unrelated. Those aren't random. Those are messages. And the waning crescent moon is amplifying them so you can't miss them anymore. Here's a practical example of what this looks like. Let's say you've been considering a major life change. Moving to a new city, starting a business, ending a relationship. Your logical mind has been going back and forth, making pro and con lists, trying to figure out the right answer. But during this waning crescent phase, you wake up one morning and you just know. Not because you figured it out logically, but because something deeper than logic has spoken. That's your intuition. And it's almost always right. The problem is, we've been trained to distrust it. We've been taught that if we can't explain something rationally, it's not valid. But some of the most important decisions you'll ever make won't make sense until after you've made them. Some of the best opportunities you'll ever receive won't come with a logical explanation attached. This is the second cosmic warning. Your intuition is speaking louder than it has in months. The question is, are you listening? Or are you drowning it out with overthinking, with fear, with the need to have everything figured out before you take the first step? Because here's what happens if you ignore this warning. You miss the guidance. You second-guess yourself. You let opportunities pass by because you're waiting for more information, more certainty, more proof. And by the time you finally feel ready, the window has closed. But if you honor this warning, if you start trusting that inner voice, If you act on the guidance you're receiving even when it doesn't make perfect sense, you align yourself with a flow of synchronicity that most people never experience. Doors open that you didn't even know existed. People appear at exactly the right time. Resources show up just when you need them. That's not luck. That's what happens when you stop fighting the universe and start working with it. Now, I need to tell you about the third cosmic warning. Because this one is the most uncomfortable. This is the one that most people actively resist. But it's also the most important. Because if you don't understand this warning, everything else I've told you won't matter. The third cosmic warning is this. Emotional release must happen before transformation can occur. Let me explain what I mean. Over the past few days, you might have noticed emotions surfacing that you thought you'd already dealt with. Sadness about something that ended months ago. Anger about a situation you thought you'd forgiven. Grief over a loss you believed you processed. Your first reaction is probably to push these emotions back down, to tell yourself you're being dramatic, to wonder why you're still feeling this way when you should be over it by now. But here's what's actually happening. The waning crescent moon is bringing up unresolved emotional energy that's been stored in your body, in your nervous system, in your energetic field. This isn't regression. This is completion. Think of it like this. Every experience you have creates an emotional imprint. When you fully feel and process that emotion in the moment, the imprint dissolves naturally. But when you suppress the emotion, when you push through it, when you tell yourself you don't have time to feel it right now, that emotional energy doesn't disappear. It gets stored. It accumulates. It creates blockages in your system. And those blockages, they're not just emotional, they're energetic. They literally prevent new experiences, new opportunities, new relationships from entering your life. Because there's no space for them. Your container is full of old, unprocessed emotion. The waning crescent moon is the universe's way of clearing that container. It brings up the stored emotions so you can finally feel them, process them, and release them. Not because you did something wrong by not dealing with them earlier, but because now is the right time. Now you're ready. Now you have the support of cosmic energy to help you move through it. This is why so many people feel emotional during this moon phase. Why tears come out of nowhere. Why old memories resurface. Why you might feel sadness or anger or grief that seems disproportionate to what's actually happening in your present life. It's not about your present life. It's about clearing the past so your future can arrive. Let me give you a real example. I worked with someone once who couldn't understand why they kept attracting the same type of romantic partner over and over. Different people, same patterns. They'd done therapy. They read the books. They understood intellectually what was happening. But nothing changed. Then, during a waning crescent moon, they finally allowed themselves to feel the grief they'd been carrying since childhood. Grief about not being seen, not being chosen, not being enough. They'd been so focused on fixing the pattern that they'd never actually felt the original wound. And once they did, once they let themselves cry for that younger version of themselves who didn't get what they needed, something shifted. Within weeks, they met someone completely different. Someone who saw them, chose them, made them feel like they were more than enough. Not because they manifested it, but because they'd cleared the energetic blockage that was preventing it from arriving. That's what emotional release does. It doesn't just make you feel better. It literally changes what you're able to receive. And right now, during this waning crescent moon, the universe is giving you permission to feel everything you've been holding back. The sadness you've been too strong to cry about. The anger you've been too spiritual to express. The fear you've been too brave to acknowledge. You don't have to perform healing. You don't have to make it pretty. You don't have to understand it or explain it or justify it. You just have to feel it. And then let it move through you and out of you. Because here's what nobody tells you about transformation. It's not comfortable. It's not Instagram worthy. It doesn't happen in a single breakthrough moment where everything suddenly makes sense. Real transformation happens in the messy middle. In the moments where you're crying in your car for no reason you can articulate. In the nights where you can't sleep because your body is processing years of stored tension. In the days where you feel like you're falling apart when really, you're finally letting yourself fall together. The waning crescent moon is holding space for that process. It's saying, you don't have to hold it together right now. You don't have to be strong. You don't have to have all the answers. You can just be human. You can just feel. You can just release. And on the other side of that release, there's space. Clean, clear, open space. Space for new experiences. Space for new relationships. Space for the version of your life that's been trying to emerge, but couldn't because you were too full of old energy. This is the third cosmic warning. If you keep pushing down your emotions, if you keep telling yourself you're fine when you're not, if you keep performing strength instead of allowing vulnerability, you'll miss the entire point of this lunar phase. You'll arrive at the new moon still carrying everything you were meant to release. And the breakthrough you've been waiting for won't be able to land, because there's nowhere for it to land. But if you honor this warning, if you give yourself permission to feel fully, if you trust that this emotional release is necessary and sacred, and exactly what needs to happen right now, you'll emerge from this phase lighter than you've felt in years, clearer, more aligned, ready to receive what's coming. Now, here's where all three of these warnings come together, because they're not separate. They're interconnected parts of the same process. The universe is closing old doors, so you stop wasting energy on what's already complete. Your intuition is getting louder, so you know which new doors to walk through. And emotional release is clearing the space, so you're actually able to receive what's on the other side of those new doors. This is the cosmic curriculum. This is how transformation actually works. Not through force, not through willpower, not through positive thinking, but through surrender, through trust, through allowing the natural cycles of death and rebirth to move through you. And right now, during this waning crescent moon on March 13th, you're in the death phase. I know that sounds dramatic, but stay with me. The death phase isn't about literal death. It's about the death of old identities, old patterns, old versions of yourself that you've outgrown. You can't become who you're meant to be while still clinging to who you used to be. You can't step into your next chapter while still trying to rewrite the previous one. You can't receive new blessings while your hands are full of old baggage. The waning crescent moon is asking you to put it down. All of it. The relationships that aren't serving you. The beliefs that are keeping you small. The emotions you've been carrying that were never yours to carry in the first place. And I know that's terrifying. Because when you put it all down, when you release everything you've been holding on to, there's a moment where you feel empty. Where you feel like you have nothing, where you wonder if you made a terrible mistake. But that emptiness, that's not loss, that's space, that's potential, that's the fertile void where miracles are born. And here's what happens next. In that space, in that emptiness, the universe begins to work, not in ways you can control or predict, but in ways that are far more intelligent than anything your logical mind could have planned. This is why the waning crescent moon is so powerful, because it forces you into that space of not knowing, of not controlling, of simply trusting that something bigger than you is orchestrating your life. And for most people, that's the hardest thing in the world to do. We've been conditioned to believe that we have to make everything happen, that if we're not constantly pushing, striving, forcing, then nothing will change. But that's not how the universe works. That's not how transformation works. Real change happens in the surrender. In the moments where you finally stop fighting and start flowing. Where you release your grip on how things should be and allow them to be what they actually are. And right now, the waning crescent moon is creating the perfect conditions for that surrender. It's exhausting you so you can't keep pushing. It's closing doors so you can't keep forcing. It's bringing up emotions so you can't keep pretending everything's fine. This isn't punishment. This is preparation. The universe is preparing you for what's coming next. And what's coming next is bigger than anything you've experienced before. Let me tell you about the specific zodiac signs that are about to experience major breakthroughs as this waning crescent energy continues to unfold. Because while everyone is affected by this lunar phase, there are certain signs where the energy is hitting with particular intensity. If you're a Virgo, this waning crescent moon is directly opposite your sun sign. That means you're feeling this energy more intensely than anyone else. The total lunar eclipse that happened in your sign on March 3rd already shook up your entire world. Old structures collapsed. Relationships shifted. Your sense of identity got completely reorganized. And now, in the comments, the waning crescent moon is helping you integrate all that change. You might feel exhausted, like you've been through a war. That's because you have. But on the other side of this exhaustion is a version of you that's more authentic, more aligned, more powerful than you've ever been. The universe is asking you to stop trying to hold everything together. Stop managing everyone else's chaos. Stop sacrificing yourself to keep broken systems functioning. Let it fall apart. Because what's meant for you can't arrive until you create space for it. If you're a Pisces, this waning crescent moon is happening in your opposite sign, which means it's activating your relationship axis. You're being asked to look honestly at the partnerships in your life. Not just romantic relationships, but business partnerships, friendships, any dynamic where you're giving more than you're receiving. The universe is showing you where you've been over-functioning, where you've been making excuses for people who don't deserve them, where you've been accepting crumbs when you deserve the whole meal. This isn't about becoming cold or cutting people off. It's about recognizing your worth and only investing your energy in connections that honor it. The breakthroughs coming for you involve finally attracting people who match your level of consciousness, your level of commitment, your level of love. But first, you have to release the ones who don't. If you're a Gemini, Jupiter just stationed, direct in your second house of money and resources. That means the financial delays you've been experiencing since November are about to end. But the waning crescent moon is asking you to release old beliefs about money first. Beliefs about scarcity, about not being worthy of abundance, about having to struggle to earn what you receive. Those beliefs are energetic blocks, and until you clear them, the money can't flow. This is your moment to rewrite your relationship with wealth, to understand that abundance isn't something you have to chase or force. It's something you allow by clearing the internal blocks that are preventing it from arriving. If you're a Sagittarius, your ruling planet Jupiter is now moving direct, which means the expansion you've been waiting for is finally here. But the waning crescent moon is asking you to get clear about what you actually want to expand to. Not what sounds impressive, not what other people think you should do. What genuinely lights you up, what makes you feel alive, what aligns with your soul's purpose. This is your moment to release the goals that were never really yours, the dreams you adopted because they seemed like the right path, the ambitions that came from ego rather than essence. Clear those out, and the universe will show you what you're actually meant to be building. But here's what all of these signs, and really everyone watching this, needs to understand. The breakthroughs that are coming aren't going to look how you expect. They're not going to arrive in the package you've been imagining. They're going to show up in ways that surprise you, challenge you, maybe even scare you a little. Because real breakthroughs don't just give you what you want. They give you what you need to become who you're meant to be. And sometimes, what you need is completely different from what you thought you wanted. This is where most people miss their moment. They're so attached to a specific outcome, a specific timeline, a specific way things should unfold, that when the universe presents them with something different, they reject it. They say no to the opportunity because it doesn't match their plan. They walk away from the door because it's not the door they were expecting. But the universe doesn't work according to your plan. It works according to a much larger intelligence that sees the entire picture, not just the small piece you're focused on. So when that unexpected opportunity shows up, when that surprising door opens, when that person enters your life who doesn't fit your usual type, pay attention. Because that might be exactly what you've been asking for, just in a form you didn't recognize. The waning crescent moon is teaching you to trust the process, even when you can't see the destination. To release control even when it feels terrifying. To surrender to the flow even when every part of you wants to force an outcome. And I know that's hard. I know it goes against everything you've been taught about success and achievement, and making things happen. But here's what I've learned after years of working with these cosmic cycles. The people who try to control everything end up exhausted and stuck. The people who learn to surrender, who learn to trust, who learn to work with the universe instead of against it, they're the ones who experience miracles. Not because they're lucky, not because they're special, but because they've learned to get out of their own way and let the universe do what it does best, which is orchestrate circumstances in ways that are far more intelligent than anything we could plan ourselves. Right now, you're being asked to get out of your own way, to stop micromanaging every detail of your life, to stop trying to force outcomes, to stop clinging to what's already complete. The waning crescent moon is creating space, and in that space, magic happens, but only if you're willing to trust it. Only if you're willing to release your grip on how things should be and allow them to be what they actually are. This is the final lesson of this lunar phase. Transformation requires trust. Not blind faith, not naive optimism, but deep, grounded trust that the universe is working in your favor even when you can't see how. And tomorrow, when the new moon arrives, when the next cycle begins, you'll understand why everything had to fall away. You'll see why those doors had to close. You'll recognize why that emotional release was necessary. You'll realize that every single thing that happened during this waning crescent phase was preparing you for what comes next. But you have to make it through tonight first. You have to honor the death before you can experience the rebirth. You have to release the old before you can receive the new. So here's what I want you to do. Tonight, before you go to sleep, take a few minutes to acknowledge everything you've been carrying. All the relationships that aren't working. All the beliefs that are keeping you small. All the emotions you've been suppressing. All the doors you've been trying to keep open that the universe is trying to close. And then, consciously, intentionally, release them. You don't have to know how. You don't have to have a plan. You just have to be willing. Say it out loud if you need to. Write it down. Speak it into the darkness. I release what's no longer mine to carry. I trust that what's leaving is making space for what's coming. I surrender to the process even though I can't see the